Hello there. I am Dr. Jenkins. I am going to be your lab instructor for Anatomy and Physiology Lab. I actually have lab sections this semester of A&P 1, which is Bio 270, and I also have some lab sections for A&P 2, which is Bio 271. Either way, though, no matter if you're in A&P 1 or A&P 2, the fun is going to be the same, so I can give you the same intro video. All right, so usually we would be meeting on campus for lab, but because of the current situation, all of our labs are going to be online, which means it's obviously not going to be quite the same, but I have worked as hard as I can to make the labs as good as they can be online. So you are in good hands. Okay, just to make sure everything's clear, let me make sure I have the right amount of light, there you go. You have Dr. Mastrangelo for lecture, the online lecture. She's going to post your lecture videos where she goes through the lecture material. You're going to take your online lecture exams with Dr. Mastrangelo. So for lecture, you have Dr. Mastrangelo. For lab, you have me, Dr. Jenkins. Now, all of our material for both lecture and lab is on Blackboard. You are going to see two separate Blackboard pages. For lecture with Dr. Mastrangelo, the Blackboard course is going to look something like Bio 270, section 600. That's a lecture. For lab, you'll see another Blackboard page, and it'll say Bio 270, 60A, or Bio 270, 60B. When you see that, A or B, that's how you know it's the lab. Okay, so you'll go to the lecture page for Dr. Mastrangelo's information, and you will go to the lab page for the lab material. All right, now it might seem a little weird to have a different instructor for lecture and lab, but not to worry. Dr. Mastrangelo and I have worked together for like 10 years. She's basically my work wife, haha. So we work very well together, and we put the course together, lecture and lab, so it jives as much as it can. All right, so you're in good hands. So what to expect? Well, before I do that, let me go back. The importance of lab. Lab is where we get to do the hands-on stuff. A lot of people like the hands-on stuff. I mean, let's face it, it's a little bit less boring, because you're not just going to be sitting there listening to a lecture. We get to do hands-on. It's not quite going to be the same because we're online, but I think you'll find it, hopefully, as hands-on as it can be and a little bit more interesting, all right? So what to expect for the lab? Each week, we will have a lab to do. Along with that lab, there will be a lab assignment. Okay, so what you will be doing each week is you will be going through the lab. Sometimes it's just going to be a PowerPoint or a document. Other times it might be a video. So each week you'll go through the lab, and then you will answer the questions in the lab assignment. All right? Each lab assignment will be due Sunday at midnight. So no matter what time your lab was originally scheduled for, your lab assignment is going to be due Sunday at midnight, okay? This also means we're not going to be meeting at a certain time for lab, okay? So it's not like we're going to be meeting Saturday at 10 a.m. for lab on Zoom. I found that because of what's going on in the world, everyone's schedule is kind of up in the air. So for lab, because it's possible, I prefer to post the material each week and then let the students go through it at their own pace. All right, so we're not going to be meeting at a certain time, but the material will be there all week, and the lab assignments will be due Sunday at midnight. So no matter what time your lab is scheduled for, the lab assignments are going to be due Sunday at midnight. Now, for Dr. Mastrangelo, you're going to be using the online program Mastering. For lab, you can also log on to Mastering, and there's a great amount of pictures and study tools. So I encourage you to use mastering as a study tool for lab. However, I will not be making any assignments on mastering. Instead, I'm going to have my own Word document assignment. Okay? So you can use mastering to help you study for lab. However, I'm not going to be doing any assignments or quizzes through mastering. Okay. So each week, we're going to have a lab to do. There'll be a document, a PowerPoint, and or a video. And then there'll be a lab assignment to do pretty much each week. The lab assignment will be due every Sunday at midnight. Spread throughout the lab are some lab quizzes and lab practicals. These will all be given online. I'd much rather be giving them in person, but I don't have a choice. So the lab quizzes will be multiple choice through Blackboard. The lab practicals will be write-in, okay? So for the lab practicals on Blackboard, you'll click on the lab practical, and up will come a picture with an arrow pointing to something. So let's say for A&P 1, it's the bone practical. There'll be an arrow pointing to the greater trochanter of the femur. And I'm going to ask you, what structure is this? And you'll type in greater trochanter of femur. So it's not multiple choice, it's write in, type in. For A&P 2, maybe it's the blood vessel practical. So there'll be a picture of either a human or a cat and an arrow written in pointing to a specific blood vessel. And then you have to type in the structure. Okay? Those quizzes and exams will be timed, and they will also be posted all week, due Sunday at midnight. I'll give you much more information each week as we get closer to an exam or a quiz. So more to come, but I just want to give you an idea of what to expect. All right? Okay, good. Let's see, my little things to do. Ways to be successful. The first thing to be successful is to do the work. So if you don't do the lab assignments, if you don't take the lab quizzes and practicals, you're just going to get a 0 for that, and it's going to make your grade plummet. So the best thing you can do is do the work. Make sure you hand things in on time. Maybe you've heard of mean Dr. Jenkins. Some people say I'm mean, but I just have standards. Things are due when they're due. So they're due Sunday at midnight. If you email me an assignment at 12:01 Monday morning, I'm not going to accept it. So that means you need to do things early. Make sure you allow plenty of time to do things so you can hand things in on time. That also means that if you have a question, some of these lab assignment questions will come directly from the lab. Other lab assignment questions will involve some critical thinking. That means I'm going to be asking you to apply what you're learning to a specific situation. So if you do things earlier in the week, if you have questions, you can reach out to me and I can help you with that. I'm not going to necessarily give you the answer, but I can help guide you in the right direction. Also, let's say that you wait until Sunday at 4 p.m. to take your lab practical online. And then, as this happens sometimes, Blackboard freezes and it kicks you out. Well, if you wait until Sunday at 4 p.m. to take it, and there's a technical problem, that doesn't allow much time for you to email me so I can go back to Blackboard and reset it. While I check my email as often as I cannot check it 24/7, particularly on the weekends. I mean, I'll check it sometimes when I can, but bottom line, do the work earlier in the week or earlier in the weekend if you can. So that way you can hand in things on time. Other tips on how to succeed. The lecture material and the lecture exams can be difficult. The lecture stuff with Dr. Mastrangelo, that collectively for lecture is worth 75% of your lab grade. 75% of your course grade. Lab is worth 25% of your overall grade. My tip to you is you want to be able to use lab to help your overall course grade. The exams are tough in lecture, so you want to be able to use lab to do well, and that can boost your overall course grade, so you're not feeling quite so stressed for those lecture exams and then at the end for that final exam. That's not a position you want to be, okay? Last piece of advice would be to set aside some time each week to do your A&P work. If you set aside dates and times, whatever they are, that's going to make you much more likely to do the work and have time set aside for that work. For example, I'm working from home and it's hard. There's so many distractions. There's the TV, there's the couch. So I need to make a schedule for myself. So I may say to myself, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., I'm going to be working on my A&P labs. So if I have that schedule, I have that time set aside, I'm more likely to do it. As opposed to if I don't set that time aside and then I just think, oh, I'll get to it later. Before I know it, it's Friday. And then I have some weekend plans and all of a sudden I don't have as much time as I need to do the work. All right? Okay, couple last minute things. I know I talked about not accepting late work, and that is true. In the event of an extenuating circumstance, I don't mean that you had too many margaritas last night and you couldn't do your work. What I mean is there's a death in the family, you're in the hospital. If something comes up, you have to communicate with me. And do so in a reasonable amount of time. Don't wait a week. Do it as quickly as you can. I can only try and work with you if you communicate with me. Okay? Now, you're going to be able to reach me through email, obviously. And you're also going to be able to reach me. You'll see on Blackboard, I'm going to make a code for the phone app called Remind. It's free. And if you download Remind, and you enter in the course code I'm going to give you, it means that you can basically text me, but without having to know each other's phone number. So I've found that with a lot of people with busy lives, that's a really convenient way, if you have a quick question or if something comes up, that you can communicate with me. All right, so we're going to make the best of it. A lot of things to cover, but you're in good hands. Work hard, ask questions, and we're going to get through this. All right, look forward to working with you.